Welcome, legends, back to the channel. We've got another draft battle, and I know you're all enjoying this. You should be used to the TAS one because this will be the second one you'll see, but it is actually the fifth one I've recorded. So we're in a weird order for me. So I'm not going to give too much away. But this week, we've got a legend of the channel, a new friend of PommyinOz. So we've got the great man Felix from Everything Essendon, and he's fast, even though he supports Arsenal, he's fast becoming one of my favourite content creators to watch. A very good draft knowledge, but his content is fantastic. So links are in the description. Go and give him some love because even if you don't like Essendon, his draft knowledge is well worth the subscription. But Felix, welcome to the show, mate. How are you doing?
Thank you, Pommy. Thank you. I'm doing very well. It's a good time of the year. I think we're all very happy in YouTube, which is good. How are you? Most importantly,
I'm good, mate. You know what, as well, for those watching thinking we were colour coordinated today, I was genuinely shocked he had an Arsenal shirt on, and I had a jumper on with the Man United shirt underneath. So we brought a European flair to the show as well.
Yeah, and we spent a good 10 minutes chatting about soccer before actually recording this, which is good.
Yeah, it's a nice different welcome change. And you've got an exciting amendment to this. So we were going to do something different, but we have themes every week. So this week, your team Victoria, and as I'm a foreigner, I'm doing the foreign states, Tasmania and WA, which are technically overseas to most Victorians. But you're not allowed to pick the top 20 Cal Twomey Victorians. So any Victorian that falls in that. So this is going to be like a state of origin with a twist. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I think this is good because I think, it's pretty easy to just talk about the hyped prospects like the top 10, the top 20. But today we're going to be looking at, everyone on the outside, the names that, we might not be hearing much about. So it's going to get us raising some interesting names, interesting discussions. So I'm keen.
Well, you know what? You have pick one. We're at defenders first. Who is your first Victorian-based defender?
So, yeah, when I think about AFLX and what would be suited for AFLX, it's speed, it's being able to play a number of different positions. Ideally, the best player you pick for this is Xavier Taylor, but he's off the board. He's inside the top 20. So I'm going to go with his twin brother in Max Contagianis. I call him a twin brother because I remember watching back at Champs, VIC Metro, seeing these two running around together in the same position, same height, both short hair. One was number 22, one was number 23. They play really similar styles of footy. And I actually thought Contagianis at Champs was not better, but he actually outshone Taylor quite a few times. He averaged the most intercepts a game for Vic Metro, but also the most meters gained as well. So it's not just someone who can intercept in the back half. It's someone who can get the footy and go. And I think it's important for AFL, obviously, but also more so AFLX, where there's less players on the field. Having Contagianis, intercepting, running with the footy, using his speed. He's really athletic for his size as well. Maybe a bit deficient with his actual defending, but I like his athleticism, and I think he's got some really good weapons for AFLX specifically. And I think he's someone, I don't know how you feel about it, but I think he's been slept on quite a bit in this draft. Like, I've got him inside my top 30 range. I don't think I've seen many talk about him in the top 40 or even top 50. He's someone that many predict to go late, and I think he's going to be a real steal in this draft.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because when you look at some of these guys, like usually when you win the Courts Talent League, like last year, Sandy, everyone got like a bump towards the end of the mock drafts, I noticed, and the Rebels were the losing finalist. When you look at someone who's like playing for Oakley Chargers that didn't go as deep as them, it feels like there's a recency bias towards Rangers type players, isn't it? Like the Eastern Rangers guys, they're all like Oscar Taylor. They're all really driving up the board. Sullivan Roby. Max is that type of player, though, isn't he? That modern day. I think the AFL has got an evolution. We either like 200 centimetre players now, or we like that awkward 190 to 194 who is incredibly athletic and has got good ball use. And he suits the top 20 from the last couple of years, but I think he's just got exposure limitation. There is a recency bias, though, in mock drafts, I find, towards the end of the year. It's a weird, bizarre, complex thing.
Yeah, well, I was most impressed, and I haven't even watched heaps of his talent league footy. I know he played a bit of midfield for school footy as well, but I was really impressed with Contagianis at Champs for Vic Metro, and I thought he was a bit stiff not to be named All-Australian. I thought he was going to get a bit of a bump from there, but it just never happened. And that always surprised me because I've always seen him as a really good prospect in this year's draft.
No, I think it's a great call. And there's quite a lot of these players, isn't there, that I'm sure you're going to bring up that just aren't getting the exposure that they probably deserve, which is weird because obviously we are landlocked. And having talked about lack of exposure, I have got the two states that I always say in my mock drafts, people forget they exist. And I am a closet Tasmanian fan. So I was really excited about doing a joint team. And I'm going to pick up, in the same vein as you, you've gone Big Max. I'm going Big Avery Thomas from Tasmania. A guy I think has been slept on because I like my defenders to do two things: defend and be able to catch a ball. And he's incredibly good at it. Sub 3 seconds sprint time, tested really well with the agility, top 5 vertical leap as well. And he reminds me of, at 185, he's a little bit smaller than his last Tasmanian we saw in the top 30 in Lockie Cowan, but similar Cowan type vibe, Isaac Quaynor type vibe, that guy that can play tall and small, but also break lines, which I think is integral in transition football. So I'm bringing in Avery Thomas, and he's another guy that I've seen in mock drafts. I've seen people do 54 pick drafts and he's not been mentioned. And I'm like, he's worth a late punt in the 30s for me.
100%. And I think when we talk about the draft, we often split players into the realm of athlete types or footballers. You know, you'll get like a Max King as an athlete, Josh Lindsay's a pure footballer. I see Avery Thomas leaning towards that athleticism type, but that's great for AFLX. Like, you want those players in a competition with less, more space around them and less numbers. I think he'd be like if this was an AFLX draft that it is, he'd be right up quite a bit higher. I think his attributes are definitely suited to this type of game.
We love it. We love it. Get a bit of Tasmanian love. That's what the world needs. Because I think there's only like, one Tasmanian expected to be drafted. And
I'm thinking who else you're going to have from Tasmania in your team. I can't think of too many off the top of my head.
I've got to say, big spoiler, there's 2.
Oh, all right.
There's 2. Well, all right. There's 2, so stay tuned for that. But next defender, you're going to pair him up with the big. Do you reckon he'll get a nickname like the Greek Freak, like the Big Greek?
Kondragiannis?
Yeah,
it has to be something like that. Yeah, surely. We love a nickname.
So you're pairing with him?
Yeah, so I was torn a bit what to do here, whether I go, if I have Kondragiannis kind of acting on ground level a bit, but there's not much key defensive depth out of Victoria, unfortunately, this year. So I've gone ground level again. Then I was tossing up between Kai Fincher, St Kilda's NGA player.
Oh, yeah.
I've gone instead with Rory Wright. I think these two, I'm really 50-50 on who I want more, but I think I want to talk about Rory Wright more, so I'm going to pick him. He's a 183 centimetre rebound defender. He's primarily, I talked about before, athletes and footballers. I'd say he's more of a footballer. He maybe doesn't have that top-end speed and athleticism that an Avery Thomas has, so he's a bit more limited into what he can do, probably without the footy. But with the footy, he's pure. He's a lovely kick of the footy. He's going to be dictating a lot of my team's plays and transition, and I think this is an important player to have in a system where there's less players because you can trust him to kick the footy. So he's going to be getting 90 to 100 disposals a game, just using that left boot for good. He's also pretty tough as well. I think Sullivan Roby talked about his defensive work or how good Rory Wright's defensive work was against him. So, yeah, I think he's a sneaky good pickup for my team.
I really like it. And this goes back to my Rebels point from last year. We know that you had like Layla was the number 1 pick, and that always knocks his teammates. But I remember last year, the power rankings towards the end of the draft, when the Rebels lost the final to Sandy, it was full of Sandy players. And it was almost like the Rebels didn't play. But then in the real draft, Hannaford was taken top 20, Fall was taken. They all came back to where probably they were all year. I get the feeling that a lot of the Sandy boys have been completely forgotten about purely because of the recency that they were so disappointing in the grand final and forgetting their years as a whole were really strong.
Yeah, and I also think Rory Wright's a really interesting player because I'm trying to think back to the start of the year, but I feel like I remember him being a midfielder primarily, and I was almost disappointed with his champs campaign because he wasn't hitting his straps. But the more I watched him at talent league level behind the ball, the more you saw his footy really speak for itself. So I think he's someone who I've probably flip-flopped a bit on this year, but as the year's gone on, you've seen his class, and I think in a draft that's really lacking quite a few good kicks of the footy, there aren't too many good kicks. Rory Wright sets himself apart in that category of the good kicks.
Couldn't agree more. Transition football is really, if you had to be good at one thing, you'd choose your ability to transition the football, wouldn't you? Because pretty much that's what wins you the flag. Like, everything else is secondary now. Your ability to slingshot. Rory's that type of player that can get you defending to attacking in a blink of an eye.
Definitely. Yep.
Well,
all right, who have you gone with?
Everyone knows I'm a sucker for a halfback. So I went a bit strategic with this because I thought I've gone small 185, which isn't small, but for a footballer, it's midget height. I needed to get as close to 190 as possible, but everyone knows I'm a sucker for kicking efficiency because I'm a Carlton fan and I don't see it. So I'd gone the best kick in the draft, dare I say, Jacob Farrow, to bring some Americanization in. I want someone to quarterback that half-back line, just marshal the troops, pincer the ball, but he can defend, which is very important as well. You've got to be able to defend. I like the fact that, as well, it's a compliment. Avery's very bullish, more of a thug, an enforcer, and Farrow's the glitzy, glamorous one next to him. I think that's a real nice pairing on the field.
I like it. I think, because I'm obviously not picking anyone inside the top 20 in Cal's mock draft, I think Jacob Farrow is pretty clearly the best player across both these teams now. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think we've probably hit our peak in terms of the raw talent and upside with Jacob Farrow, but that's not a disservice to him. I think he's a great prospect. I think he's right on the verge of that top 10. He's definitely WA's best prospect. He was great at champs as well. I wonder, do you think you've maybe left your defense a little bit short, or do you think you can trust Avery Thomas in the air?
I think Avery Thomas might injure someone, so I mean that's the plan.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I like it.
That's the plan. Look, I might go with the Kevin Keegan Newcastle United of the 90s. We might concede 4, but we'll score 5. So that's the plan.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, we're into the engine room now. People love midfielders, and the draft is 90% midfielders. So this is probably the easiest lines for both of us because we have quite a lot of options.
You'd think so. I was really surprised to figure out that the depth out of the Victoria in the midfield just goes away after the Ollie Greaves type players in the early stages. So I actually really struggled to find some good midfielders. I've gone with someone who I'm really happy to have, though, in Hunter Holmes. I think he is just the prototypical AFLX player. He's really, I'm just going to tell him to run around. That's all he's going to do. He's going to run around all day because that's what he can do best. He's the brother of Max Holmes, who's obviously an aerobic freak. Hunter Holmes himself is, he's got top line speed. He's got incredible endurance. He simply put can just outwork those around him and outrun those around him with his speed. His ball use is goofy. He's a weird kick. He probably needs to fix quite a lot of his football game. Again, talking about football as an athlete, he's more of an athlete. But I think his attributes really suit not just AFL. Clubs are going to like him and pick him up early for that wing role, but AFLX in particular, where he can just run up and down. And I think my defense, by the way, is probably a bit thin in terms of the actual defending. So having a midfielder who can work back and be that third defender is probably pretty handy. So I've gone Hunter Holmes.
You don't sell tickets, though, for defenders, so I do like it. But Holmes is that type of player, isn't he? Like Hunter, when I look at him, I have this Pomspiracy with Ollie Greaves that Hawthorn have done something to let him slide when he should be a top 5 candidate. Is there a little sneaky feeling here that Geelong, there is Jesse Mellor, who was in the All-Australian, but Hunter is another player that I think would be raved about a bit more. And are Geelong doing something dodgy behind the scenes? Because people have had great success when they've gone with these athletic traits of endurance and speed. Like, it
Yep.
seems Geelong are a team that bat themselves to teach you to kick. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think good teams can teach that. You can't
Yep.
teach someone to be quick.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I see different positions, but the same with Sydney and Max King. That's someone who I just think is probably being potentially held back a bit because you see his athletic attributes and you haven't really seen him put it all together on the park yet. Maybe that's just him developing late, but I trust players like Max King and Hunter Holmes in good systems to really come alive and be, good AFL players.
Mate, I love it. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think he's another guy that people are sleeping on. So I love that
Agreed.
selection. And I'm a sucker, right, for midfielders because I like my midfielders to be like Magnolia paint. Like, just, they don't have to be exciting, but it makes everything better. And I think two captains in the draft this year have been disrespected. Dyson Sharp's one, but this guy's another one that I think is incredibly disrespected because he's not sexy. He's good and consistent wins you stuff. Fred Rodriguez, my WA captain, he's going to captain this side. He's the black backdrop that makes the stars shine brighter. I loved his WA campaign because I thought they were overrun at times and Rodriguez really showcased. If I was a bottom four club, I'd be like, okay, this guy can do it when you're behind the eight ball, but I think he's got the skills to do it when you're a top class club as well. His time trial showed his endurance, which is what you need. He wins ball. He's very clean. He drives you forward. And also, I thought this year, a little bit like Mr. Dyson, has shown that he's not just a ball winner, he can also finish his own work. So bringing Fred along for the journey, I like Fred Rodriguez, and I think he's a bargain in the late 30s where people see him going.
Yeah, I like Fred Rodriguez too. I think he's good on both sides of his body. He's got more range in how he can dispose of the footy. So he might not be the best kick out there, but he's more rounded with his ball use than quite a lot in this draft, which I think is a undervalued aspect of his game.
Yeah, we have gone into an era of football, haven't we, Felix, where like evidently being good at football is secondary.
Yeah. To be fair, it works. I mean, we were talking before about the athleticism side of things and drafting players who might, take a bit more, or take a bit longer to round out their game. My favorite players in drafts are always the pure footballers, like I don't know if you know Jack Cook, but I really like watching Jack Cook play. Those types of players who just tuck the shirt in, roll the socks up, and just get to work. We need a bit more of that in footy, I think.
Mate, couldn't agree more. I mean, that being said, you need another midfielder. Have you gone footballer or athlete?
I have gone footballer with this one, and I've got someone who I like quite a lot. He's an Essendon NGA prospect in Adam Swade. So you could say he is more of a forward. I'm trying to build a bit of a versatile team who can play a different range of positions. So I've got Adam Swade here, and I think the type of midfielder that he is at the level probably suits AFLX a bit in that he's purely that he's a hard worker. I wouldn't say he's got endurance, but I think he's a hard worker. He exerts a lot of energy and works really hard to will himself to win the footy. And I think that's really good on the inside. He can kind of, if Hunter Holmes is doing laps of the whole oval, Adam Swade's going to be in the inside doing smaller laps and trying to win the footy at the coalface to get it out to Hunter Holmes on the outside. Swade's also got some forward craft, and he's a bit creative with his foot skills as well. Maybe size is a bit of a question mark. He's sub 180, so pretty small, but it means his center of gravity is just a lot better. So yeah, I like Adam Swade a lot.
You know what I find weird with Adam, and no one talks about it if you do it in your bottom age year, but he's coming off a bad injury.
Yep.
And we've got Harley Barker at the minute, same injury, and everyone's questioning, can he do that when he's in the AFL? Even though the treatment he's going to get is another level. So if a young kid can do it without professional backing, it should be quite a formality if you injure yourself as in the AFL. So I love him. I watched the KC Demons game as well. And I think for a kid that had an interrupted development year last year, to play against a very strong VFL side in KC Demons and look ready to go, I think he's one of the most underrated ones. And it's weird. Essendon's NGA is kind of like fallen by the wayside, I think, because of you have in 5 and 6, where
Yeah,
teams like Carlton, it's been heavily focused. Brisbane, their depth has been heavily focused on. They've got some good talents. I think you might get away with one there, and people at home will have watched the video, but you won't have. But I did do a video recently on who's this 15th player you have ranked, and is it smoke and mirrors that you won't match the bid? I think Essendon have played that a treat because it's a risky thing to do, isn't it? Bid on him, pick 21, because there'll probably be players who are more guaranteed than Adam day one.
Agreed. I think he's the main downside is his size and whether or not that's good for AFL footy. But yeah, like you said, coming off an ACL, that ACL injury, by the way, wasn't last year. That was in 2023. It was the back half of the 2023 season. So he's been out of action for a long, long time, and he's come in. It just looked super for the Calder Cannons since day one. Essendon fans, I think we can expect to match a bid. Obviously, I think the question will be Hussein Alachkar and whether or not, if a bid comes early for him, whether we match it. But both of those guys, super tight friends. It'd be a fun little duo to have in the AFL side. So yeah, I had to sprinkle in a little bit of Essendon in there for those watching.
You did well. No, I love it. And unfortunately, I can't get Carlton into this team. We don't have any NGAs from there. So I would have loved to have cheated, but I've seen what you've done, and I've done something similar. I like my Audi versions of brand names. So there is a guy at the minute, Sam Cumming. I think he's one of the most exciting players in this draft. And if Sullivan Roby didn't exist, I think there's an argument to make Sam Cumming the big bolter in the draft. A guy that's played with men and killed it. So I need an Audi version of that. And I found him, Sam Swadlin. So this guy here, goal-kicking machine, ball-winning machine. He's sexy. He's a big guy. And he's also shown he can do it in the waffle as well against men, which I think is incredibly exciting. It's something I look for, particularly in these mid-forward type players. Can you translate that as a child against men? Should be quite easy if we get a couple of years in the AFL to make you good. And I think he's the glue that holds midfields together. So I think Swadlin with his captain, Fred, I think that's a real nice duo.
I like it. I think, and we talked about earlier I talked about the lack of maybe midfield depth in this draft compared to other ones. I think players like Sam Swadlin are going to be really popular around the second round range because you're looking at a completely different tier of players from the first round and the second round. I think there's a bit of a drop off, but players like Sam Swadlin are worth taking a punt on. I think there's a lot of upside with a player like that.
We do like a bit of Swadlin. WA represent there. I've got a solid heart and soul WA boys, but we're into the forward line now. This is where people get excited. I think, I'd love to know what you think, Felix. I think this draft has some really exciting small forward talent that everyone's saying there's no depth in this draft or it's not top line. The most successful draft picks genuinely year one are your midfield small forward guys.
Yep. Unfortunately, there's not a heap outside the top 20 in Victoria. There is, I can think of a few at WA, but I'm actually going to change it up a bit because you talked a bit before about how you wanted to find a Carlton NGA player, but there weren't any in WA or Tasmania. So I'm going to help you out here and bring Jack Ison into the team. I think this is someone who can, he's kind of a bridging player, and he is a fascinating draft prospect to me. I don't know, you know more about him than I would, so I'll let you yap on in a second about him. But I think that looking at Jack Ison, you look at his profile, he's 190 centimeters, he's got good muscle. You'd think he's that big, brutey, forward midfielder hybrid, but I see almost like flanker, like a creative, good ball using half forward flanker. He's so good with the footy. He's really clever with it. Who does he remind me of? I don't even know. He's just a strange draft prospect in that his physical strengths don't really align with the way he plays football, at least from what I've seen. But if you can bridge that all together and improve some of his contest work, you can see him being a real steal in this draft for Carlton if they do match a bid, because he's probably not going to go in the first round. I wouldn't think.
Yeah, I mean, I can actually see his future. There is a guy that we've talked about way too much on this channel, Harley Barker, who I'm in love with. And I think if he didn't have the ACL, he'd be a top 5 talent because the guy is a genius at what he does.
Yeah.
I can see this guy's future, Jack's, being a wingman. And what is the most
Okay.
in vogue thing in the world? A giant who's a wingman. It's you've done it with Nick Cox, didn't you, for years, and Reed. Like
That
that was
worked out.
that was the rumor. But every team has had success. It just seems Carlton and Essendon haven't. And we saw
Yeah.
Carlton's finals run. Blake Acres, who hate him or love him as Carlton fans, he divides fans. A big part of us getting to one game off the final was the ability for us to exit to a big guy on the wing,
Yep.
change the game, get us out of trouble, control it. I think that's where Jack is.
Okay.
It's hard to say who he's like, though. The best way I describe him for those watching at home is what everyone misassumed Brodie Kemp was. Brodie Kemp was an intercepting defender who spent times in the midfield, then got hurt. This guy is actually a guy that plays in the forward line who spurts in the midfield. So I think it's what you thought Brodie Kemp was. This guy actually is.
Okay. I like it too because it gives you a bit of a flexibility with Adam Swade. Both of them are not defined to being a midfielder or a forward. Both can play different roles. So I can kind of swing them around the park a bit, which is good with Hunter Holmes still doing back and forth running. I love the Harley Barker shout because he is he's if you know me, if you know my channels, you know I'm a big fan of Harley Barker. So brownie points for you, Pommy.
Hey, we are a South Australian fan channel as well in the draft. Tasmania and South Australia, we try and give the lesser states in terms of popularity a bit of love. I'd love Barker. You know what? For those who are watching, I can spoil it now in the video. Barker is who we said in that video, if you've watched it, the secret 15th player.
Yep. Happy with that.
That's who we assumed was the secret player because I don't think he's getting any exposure, so I think he'll slide.
Yeah, I've got him right near my top 10, by the way, Harley Barker. I've had him there all year. I think he's a super talent.
Yeah, look, I keep saying it. If I had Melbourne's picks 7, 8, 2 back-to-back, I think you can take a risk.
Yeah.
And I'd be quite happy to take a risk on a player that's not going to play football in 2026 who is probably better than anyone outside of the top 10.
Yep.
Ceiling-wise. It's an investment. It does. I think that's what people get wrong, Felix, would you say? That I think sometimes people base their odd on who's going to be best their first year, not what's going to be best in 10 years.
Yeah, and I also think it's all well and good to rank players compared to other players. People have Harley Barker at 25. If we're ranking pure wingmen, Harley Barker's number 1. So if a club needs a wingman and has early picks, there's no reason not to draft him. I think it makes perfect sense.
Mate, I love it. And you've got a very good forward there, Ison. But I'm going to bring in someone that if Roby's last 9 weeks of his Coates League gets you bolted, I do think when you take the mick in your combine, that should get you quite highly rated. And Tyler Williams is the guy I'm picking up. My Eagles NGA. I thought this screams I've got a chance of the rising star the way he plays football. When you combine forward pressure, Usain Bolt-like speed, and just being a menace at the ground ball, I've got a feeling that this guy is going to become a cult hero. And I know they've lost Flying Ryan, but I think this guy might ease the Eagles. A different type of player. He's not a pure out-and-out goal kicker, but his defense is twice as good as Liam Ryan's has ever been. And I think he's got the skills for AFL level that makes you a nightmare matchup.
Yeah, I see that. I think there's quite a few options you can go with on ground level. I don't know if you've got another key forward or a small forward in your team. I won't spoil it, but it's a good place to bring in small forwards. You've got Wes Wally as well. Leon Kickett is another one that you could go with. So I think WA usually produces good small forwards. So yeah, you've lucked out a bit there.
I was actually, the forward line was the most exciting line I looked at because I was like, the depth chart here is 40 deep.
Yeah.
As opposed to some lines that had one name. So
yeah. I'm trying to
like Jack.
Yeah, good question. Good question because I think Jack Ison's such a good size. You probably can't use him as a key, but with his size, one day maybe you can. What I'm thinking is I'm going to have what is it? A pitch in AFLX? What is it? It's an oval. I don't know.
It's
Field.
technically a football field, isn't it? So we can call it pitch, I think.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm gonna have everybody in the defensive half almost. All right, just kind of doing their thing, winning the footy. I'm gonna isolate my forward 50, whatever it's called, forward 30, and I'm gonna have big Archie Ludowick patrolling that area, because I think this is a forward who really likes space and he's really good at creating space behind him. He's not the type to win contested marks in big packs and use his strength. He's more the type to do the work before a kick is even kicked to separate himself from his defender and hit up a lead. He's got really good creativity with his leading patterns, really smart footballer, and he's also really tough. I really liked his academy game against the Richmond VFL, where he was playing a lot of the time on Noah Bolter, and that showed a lot of promise. He's injured himself a bit this year, so he probably hasn't hit his peak, but you can see a real forward with Archie Ludowick, and the fact that he's kind of slid outside Cal Twomey's top 20 works really well for me, because there's not too many good key forwards beneath him. But yeah, I think Archie Ludowick is a solid shout to just kind of patrol the forward 50 on his own and just wait for kicks to come in at him.
Yeah, I think the knock on Aidan Sherbert, and we've had this on this channel quite a bit, is his kicking style looks like an octopus falling out of a tree. It's not something that I think will. I could be wrong, but I wouldn't back it in mechanically without some help under pressure, where I think Archie as well, he reminds me of a very tall Jack Darling, and I've been a big Jack Darling fan in the terms of I think he's the best second that's been in the AFL for the last 20 years. He makes the senior key forward have a lot easier time because of the way he creates space. So I love that shout, and I think that PCL might get you a bargain, because I've got a feeling there's a bit of jaunty fall about Archie, that people are sleeping on him.
Yep.
But he may be the best forward in this class. It's just the exposure hasn't been quite there with the injuries.
Yeah, and I think people forget why we rate Aidan Schubert higher than Archie Ludowick, because he's got more positional versatility. I'm not drafting Aidan Schubert as a key forward. I'm drafting him as someone who can be mobile around the ground and accumulate a lot of the footy as a ruck. If you're drafting just for a pure key forward, there is an argument to take Archie Ludowick over Aidan Schubert. I'm not saying you do that, but if you want a pure key forward to patrol the area, hit up leads, Archie Ludowick is a really good option.
I love a little bit of Ludo. I think he's it's an intriguing one, because I think that there's no key forwards really outside of Aidan, is there, that are in like the top 30 conversation. So if you are looking for a key forward, I think this could be like something like looking at Carlton. You look at their depth of key forwards at the minute. There's Harry Mackay, Hudson O'Keefe loosely, Brodie Kemp if you start stretching the bill of what a tall forward is. It gives teams like Carlton scope. Like, you can maybe trade down to get your points, but also be in a position that you could potentially pick up a guy that everyone forgets about. And there's always a guy that seems to get forgotten about in draft night, because people start getting excited with the other sliders, which is full of midfielders and creative halfbacks.
Yeah. And it is the same thing as Jonty Fall and even Harry Armstrong last year. I think key forwards do tend to slide a bit. And especially a key forward that's had injury troubles. This is someone who really hasn't had a proper go at it this year. Coming into 2025, he was a really highly rated prospect, I'm sure, on the outskirts of the top 10. So you're looking at someone with serious upside who's sliding mostly because of his injury.
Mate, I couldn't agree more. Everyone check out Archie as well. Give him some love, because it's nice to see Ludowick get some love.
Give him some love.
Get some love. Yeah, I'm sticking with bolters. So you've gone isolate, kind of basketball approach, put a big guy up there, give Jacob Farrow, who's giving up like 12 centimetres.
That's rough.
But poor Farrow, he's going to test that vertical leap out, bless him. I'm going to test your backline out just with sheer razzmatazz and excitement, and I'm bringing in Leon Neon Kickit. I mean, the fact his surname is what he's got to do for a living really makes me excited. But this is a guy that I think is another guy that proves in this industry, if you're from South Australia and WA, no one actually cares because everyone's given Pickett a bit of love, which I understand because he's Keziah's cousin. I think Kickett is, if not better than Latrell, but also he's just shown it in so many ways. And I really like this guy. And I think AFLX, you want excitement, you want jumping, you want razzmatazz, and he is blockbuster footballer.
Yeah, he is just exciting. Like, this is the type of player that you don't even want your team to draft to get better, but just think about the bums on seats. And it's so good to have, because at the start of the year, we're looking at this draft and thinking there is a severe lack, and just a previous draft as well, a severe lack of Aboriginal talent coming through it, which is really unfortunate. But having guys like Pickett and Kickett come through, again, I think Kickett is probably slept on a bit because of the emergence of Pickett, that they've both emerged at similar times. I think Kickett was maybe in line for a mid-season draft spot from memory as well, potentially. But the fact that both of these guys have come on late and played so well in the state leagues, yeah, I'm really excited to see what both of them do. I think it's good for the competition having them both taken by clubs.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think two people I did have in my mock draft, Pickett being the surprise first rounder. I could see I gave him to Fremantle. I could see Kickett, though, being Fremantle's first selection as well. I know I try and avoid that stereotype that because Fremantle in Western Australia, they'll just pick Western Australians. So I thought I wanted to sex it up, but we've done little men. This is going to be weird for my team. I don't think there's anyone over 190, but you need a ruckman now.
Yeah, I've lucked out a bit. So when I was thinking about doing the top 20 thing where I'm not taking anyone top 20, I was crying about losing Cooper Duff-Tyler, who'd be perfect for AFLX. I'd completely forgotten about Louis Emmett. This is someone, again, who we just forget about. He had some injury troubles as well, like Archie Ludowick. But this is kind of that prototypical mobile ruck forward, maybe more of a key forward. Maybe I'm cheating a little bit here and putting him in the ruck because he can pinch it in the ruck. But in AFLX, I don't think that's important. I don't think you're going to be drafting, Aaron Sandilands to win your hit outs. You're going to be wanting those mobile Luke Jackson types. And I think Louis Emmett fits more into that mold where he can move around the ground, use his tank. This guy, I believe, ran what did he run? A 6'7". He ran a very good 2K time trial. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he's very fit is what I'm trying to say. So having him just running around, going contest to contest, using that tank is perfect for AFLX.
You know what, as well? I think we are getting into an era now where I think Ruck is the most changed role. And I always use the analogy, when I was a kid and I used to watch like the NBA, the center was basically just the tallest guy on the park and the strongest. He didn't really have to do anything than win that tip and just stand there and do screens. Where you look at centers now in the NBA, they're a massive part of how you do it. Like, the Joker is the best player in the NBA. Like, we've gone from an era where just the tall guy did a job, so now it's been integral. I think the same in the AFL is happening. We're starting to see Luke Jackson. We're starting to see Max Gawn be the forerunner of a guy that can do more than just tap. I really like Emmett. I think he's slept on because Cooper Duff-Tyler is obviously the best at what he does. And I keep saying key forward that can ruck. Look at it that way. Don't look ruck who can play key forward. I think Emmett's the same role. And I do think in 5 years' time, our ruckmen are going to be either Blitzarbs type players that can play ruck and play midfield, or are going to play key forward and ruck. You're going to have to do another job to an elite standard to be a ruckman in the AFL.
Yeah, and the rule changes align with that. I think, we saw the wrestling rucks kind of come back in vogue a bit in the last couple of years. We even saw with Hawthorn, they had Ned Reeves, who was their main ruck, and then a rule change forced him to stay in the VFL and Lloyd Meek, that big, stronger, the physical type, be the main ruck. We might see a complete reverse. We're going to see the leaping back involved. Mobile rucks, they have to be more athletic to get around the ground to go stoppage to stoppage because ball ups are going to be quicker. So, I think athletic, mobile runners who can also ruck are what we're going to see more in the AFL. It's not going to be stoppage work. Even Cooper Duff-Tyler, he's a top prospect. his one weakness, or one of his big weaknesses, is probably his stoppage craft. You know, he wouldn't say he's actually a great ruckman. He's just a great ruckman for the way the game is being played right now, I think.
I agree, and I think that's probably what the appeal is. I do think we're starting to see that shift, and
it's fun.
It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's good for the game.
And having said that, I'm just going to, similar thing, does across the year 7.6 hit-outs make you a ruckman? Yeah, I don't know. Look, does bowling 140 clicks make you a fast bowler? It's up for discussion. I am going Cody Curtin from WA, and I am totally retracting from what I'm saying. Is he athletic? Is he absolutely not? But 200 centimetres, solid WA stake, and I really like Cody. I think people have slept on him. It's weird to see two brothers. Danny Curtin, I was huge on him in his draft. Incredibly mobile. He was like a decathlon athlete. Cody Curtin is like a throwback to a more beautiful time. He's big. He bodies you. He's hard in the air to beat. And I think he's got something that not many people have. He's bravery as well. He's quite a fearsome competitor defensively. And when I look at rucks, I think the wrestlers are going to die, but the wrestlers that can play on the ground can become a menace, especially with a protected area, are going to be all right. And I think Jerry's going to be one of the few ruckmen with his 6 tackles a game that will survive the change. I think Cody could probably survive this change of he can be a pain in the ass and can defend. So I'm bringing in the big Cody in for the ride.
No, I'm not sold on Cody Curtin as a draft prospect, but I heard a good story about him at the Combine where he absolutely killed himself running a 2K time trial. He's not a fit or mobile footballer. I think that's probably his big setback, but he works really hard to improve his game. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone who works that hard and is so dedicated to his game does put it all together at some stage. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah, there was a few. I mean, Jasper Hayes probably stiff, who's probably rucked a bit more than Cody, but yeah, ruckman, for some reason, WA don't grow anyone over 199. I mean, it's Tasmania this year, so I was kind of stymied.
Yeah, I didn't envy you there. That was rough.
Well, we're at the super sub now. We're allowed to activate an excitement. No rules for this. It can be any position. Who is your X Factor sub?
I'm going to change it last minute because I've got a few names here. I was going to go Huss, but I thought, I don't want to be too Essendon centric. And I think people sleep on this guy a lot too, actually, because another injured player, this is kind of the theme of the video. I've gone Sam Allen. He's a midfielder, winger. He's just incredibly fit. He runs a sub 6 minute 2K time trial. And I think that outside run is perfect for this game. He's incredibly athletic. He's got a good tough streak about him. He's someone who, if you watch, he only played Talent League to start the year. He got injured. I think he also did his ACL before champs, I think. But you watch him play, and I don't know if you think like this. I often look at faces and see what players are doing. I look at, an example like Blake Odeshawn Benia is someone who's always scanning the area around him, like he'll get the ball and scan. You've got like Josh Lindsay, who's always calm on the footy and looks so composed. Sam Allen looks so just dedicated and in sync with what's happening. He looks like a pure footballer from the way he perceives everything around him. That's the way I see it. We've obviously seen less of him, but I think if we'd seen a full season and some champs footy, he would have really shot up draft orders. I don't know if he's even going to get taken in the national draft, but I think he's someone who could come off the bench, do a lot of running and help his team out in the AFLX.
I do remember in the preseason, I think it was like over 100 centimeters on it, his vertical jump as well. And
yes, he's good in the air, very good in the air.
And like the AFL is obsessed with that as well. That's another like meta thing we're looking for, your ability to take marks in the midfield and be a point difference. So I really like that selection. He is someone that if he didn't have that ACL, who knows where he would have been. But this again comes back to, if you've got a late pick, sometimes it's best to recruit the talent and what he's got, them skill sets like you've listed off. They are things that you can, like, I always laugh. I know one of the big deficiencies people have said, and they've said it about a few people we've talked about today, is always strength, his body strength. And I'm like, well, that's probably one of the few things you can teach. It's quite easy to give a kid steak and a protein shake and a strength and conditioning program. You can't
Yeah.
teach speed. It's hard to teach cardiovascular habits. If you've already got them inherently, strength, ball use, we can maybe educate you on that, but physical, biological traits, they're hard to find. They're hard to learn.
Yeah. And someone like a Sam Allen who probably does need a bit more time in the gym, you even just see his frame and you can see the way he's going to fill out. I think there are some skinnier types who just have that frame and those broader shoulders. You can see it won't take as much effort to fill out as another draft prospect. So yeah, I think there's huge upside with Sam Allen, and he's definitely someone that I think everyone's sleeping on, including myself. Like, it's probably the first time I've really spoken about him. I guess because on my channel I talk about the early picks with 5 and 6. But no, Sam Allen, great upside prospect.
Mate, I love it. I'm excited about this pick, right? Because a couple of years ago, I did a draft profile on Seth Campbell, right? And he was a Tasmanian, and I was huge on him. I was like, this guy, I wanted him at Carlton. Carlton didn't get him. And then the dickhead decided to kick a goal against my team round one and do a triple backflip. So cheers for that, mate. It's good to know that I try to be PR. But a guy that's identical to him in this draft, and I always look at it because I've read a few draft profiles on him. I like to read a draft profile after I've talked about him, and it's almost scary that he's Seth Campbell 2.0, where people are like, oh, he's not very strong, his work weight's a bit questionable. Yeah, he kicks goals. Jack Miller getting the team. This guy is X Factor. I like my defenders to defend. I like my forwards to think defenders is a lesser job, and I'm just here to kick goals. And this guy is quick, and he's looking for is goals. He is a goal hog, a selfish goal kicking machine. I think the AFL needs these types of players. I hate to hear dual role players. I like my forwards to kick goals. And Jackie Miller, I'm going to ask him to defend. He's going to tell me to piss off, say, I'll stay in the pocket, I'll kick you some goals, Pom. And that's all I want from him. Jackie Miller, I think he's a great pickup for a club.
I like it. I'm thinking back to, in Champs, he had a 3 or 4 goal game. And I don't remember who it was against, but it was the first time I really paid attention to him. And he does just look like a crafty forward. You know, there's a few of those in this draft, actually. I think it's a really deep draft for small forwards, which is really unfortunate for a lot of them because it's not a deep draft in general. So there are going to be less taken. But that range of the draft where he might even be in the rookie calculations, Jack Miller, there are some really handy pickups that you could go with. He's one of them. You've got a Zane Piker from SA as well, who's a different type of player. But no, Jack Miller's definitely a worthy prospect for AFLX, and he's probably a decent shout to be playing for Tasmania in a few years anyway. I don't even know if he's going to be drafted this year, Miller, but you'd bet that Tasmania would be keeping an eye on him, even just for their VFL team coming in next year.
He'd definitely be a shout, but I always think it's such, like, for me, I think there's an argument, and I could be the biggest hypocrite because I'm a Dotherston fanboy, but not ever using a first round pick on a small, because we do see great success from the 3rd round onwards and the rookie draft on smalls. It seems to be, it's a very technically hard position, but it does seem to be a position you can have great success very quickly if you draft the right traits.
100%. I think the last few years we've seen how important drafting small forwards is, and clubs are looking to do it a lot more. You don't even really necessarily have a reliance to trade for them anymore. You don't see who was the last big small forward to be traded, maybe like a Shea Bolton or someone like that. But no, you can find them everywhere in the draft. There's so many of them. You know, it's you said it's a hard position technically, but there's different aspects of how you can play as a small forward. You can be that, you know, that linking player. You can be that pressure type. You can be a Jack Miller, crafty around the goals type. So yeah, there's more scope to what you can be as a small forward, I think. And Jack Miller is definitely in line to be that crafty goal sneak.
Yeah, I can see Richmond picking him up as a rookie and him doing a cartwheel this time on Carlton's defense instead of doing a backflip. Well, I mean, chat, there are the teams. Get your comments in there. There will be a poll up as well. Which team do you prefer? Are you Team Victoria or are you Pommy's non-Victorian team? Let us know. But before we do go, make sure the link to Everything Essendon is in there. Even if you're not an Essendon fan, you are a friend of the PommyinOz channel, so go and support Felix. Does absolute great work on the draft. He's a really good guy as well. So that goes a long way in this game. He's a nice guy. He's got time for everyone. I love your work, Felix, man. I think you're a jet. So it's great to see you. And as always, pleasure doing content with you, mate.
No, thank you, Pommy. The more videos we do like this, the better for not even just the viewers, but for us too, because I think we have a lot of fun with this. Thank you for the kind words, and I'll throw them right back at you. You're a ripper of a bloke and a legend content creator. So thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.